our women's national team is playing 2 friendlies over the course of this international window. They are playing Switzerland this Friday, October 24th, and then on October 28th, they are playing the Dutch. So 2 big opponents, I think, for them, where they will be able to kind of test their mettle and kind of see where they're at, because the last time this team played, you had a salty Casey Stoney talking about, maybe they underestimated not their opponents, but what they needed to do in the way of preparation to get Canada up to speed with the best teams in the world. So for those who are watching, we've got our roster up now. And I wanted to very quickly, obviously their injuries are continued injury to Kadisha Buchanan as a center back and a stalwart with his women's national team. I think this team firing in all cylinders. Keish needs to get healthy, but suffered a setback.
Can I add? Yeah, I was just going to add that. Please. In the call with Casey Stoney, somebody asked about her coming back, and she said she's had a setback. And I don't know if that means, because she was almost a year out of injury. So it means she might have re-injured. We don't know specifically what that is. But I just wanted to say, because that did come up in the call, people are asking the questions. She's missed not just here, but at Chelsea, definitely, where she signed an extension. So we're hoping and praying for Kadisha Buchanan to rest, recover, and come back properly.
Yeah, get healthy. Right? Get back playing, get her feet back underneath her. And then hopefully eventually with the national team, and also injury to Vanessa Gilles. So there's leadership missing there, but there's a tremendous amount of quality and proven quality that's missing in that back line. You have a reinsertion of a Sydney Collins, who has the versatility to play wing back, to play full back, to even play center back. You have Jade Rose, who, if I'm not mistaken, maybe missed last window, who's been balling out with Man City. And then I just before I throw it to you guys, there was Stoney on that call on the presser after the roster was announced. Obviously, Kaylee Hunter would have been eligible to play with our women's national team, the U17 team that's currently playing in the World Cup. They opened their campaign with a 4-1 victory over Nigeria. They're playing Samoa again today, as they're second of 3 games in their group play. So Stoney did allude to the fact that she thinks that if you have younger players in a professional setup, that they should be held to account by FIFA and release those players. She wasn't, so she wanted to call her in for the women's national team in more of a 10 role. So I want to come back to you guys on that. And then the big one for me, you guys, is DB Pridom not selected. And so Casey Stoney here, I think controversially, where I think you should be propping up your domestic pro league and the standards, which to me have been very high through a season. You have a player who's scoring prolifically in any pro league. That player should be brought in my estimation. The fact that this camp is European based, maybe that had something to do with it. But Casey Stoney did say that the league is a growing league and, quote, not a top league, not a top 5 league. And she wants her forwards to be doing that in top 5 leagues. I am of the opinion that if you have a player scoring bags of goals anywhere, that is prolific. And it to me, it reeks of biases that we saw previously with Bev Priestman, not bringing players like Lacasse and Ali Du into the fold. To you guys now, your first impressions of this roster.
I literally wrote down Chloe Lacasse on a piece of paper here, because it reeks of the same thing. Like, you can't score bags of goals in Portugal and then crap all over the Portuguese league. Somebody's still finding the back of the net. And it's not just how they're finding the back of the net. It's not just the same cookie cutter goals. DB Pridom scored goals by crashing the box, outside the box,
left foot,
running off the back of the defenders, left foot, right foot, slide tackle goals. I'm boggled that, and it's no disrespect to anybody else that's in camp, because there's other players in camp, and maybe she's the same profile as Evelyn Vienne. Then say that. Then say, you know what, we have somebody of the same profile right now. We're keeping an eye on her. I think the other mark that really kind of threw me was the consistency, the comment about consistency, because I'm like, there's been no player that's been more consistent than DB Pridom in my mind. And yeah, she's 28, but who cares? she's informed. She's got pace. She's smart. She tracks back. She tackles hard. She's got every quality that you would want in a player. And why not, if you're uncertain of her, bring her into the environment and see how she does in the environment and then rule it out. But like Chloe Lacasse was held off our national team for way too long.
So she was what, 29 years old?
Until she was 29 years old. She was, yeah. And I mean, it could be argued like Chloe Lacasse is back in the NWSL and looking pretty good, you know, after her ACL journey. And, you know.
And sorry, Sigs, if I could just interject, it should be noted that she wanted, or Casey Stoney wanted Lacasse as part of this roster, but as part of her return to play with Utah, they preferred that she stay there.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think that for me, I was on the call with Casey Stoney, and that was the question that I asked was the omission of DB Pridom.
Well done, Shireen.
She was, and I was the third question in, like I am all the time, right after John Molinaro and Neil Davidson, who have their hands up before the call starts. So I really don't. I need to ask about that because I don't know how they do that. I don't know what it is, because I get in the room immediately, and then I was like, oh, which I've understood. Now
it's a 10-year button. You just don't have it yet.
Yeah. Yeah, but I could argue, anyways. We could do that in the chat group. So for me, it was context. And lots of sources, because I've been sleuthing about the DB omission. This has impacted a lot of people. And as Amy, you had noted, immediately after that, DB was front facing in a lot of the media in the NSL. And I think that was an intentional move for them to say, like, she's our golden boot. I was a bit surprised but wasn't surprised that Casey Stoney was that candid, because she's candid. It doesn't mean it's not a misstep, because we know sometimes managers can omit something. It's not that they're always correct, but that's the last word is with them. I think all those things are true. The idea about consistency and being consistent in other leagues before this, maybe she didn't have the opportunity in the setting in which to be consistent, which is why the NSL again is so important to be able to showcase that here. It was felt. It was a name that was not on, that was felt. And there wasn't like, they didn't release her. It was a surprise to a lot of people that had happened. And, you know, I was like, well, Kaylee Hunter or whatever. And she says, well, Kaylee's not coming in as a 9. She's coming in as a 10. So there was a response for all that stuff and everything like that.
And also, I feel like that's moving the goalposts a little bit.
Yeah.
So like players have profiles. You have to see them as wingers. Like Holly Ward is not DB Pridom, and they both are not Kaylee Hunter.
They're not Kaylee Hunter. So the other thing too is that I think there was a time to try out DB. Like, we're not in a World Cup year this year. We're not in an Olympic year this year. This would have been the time to actually do it.
Shireen.
She's on fire. Like, this is where you try things. And we've seen Casey Stoney try things. So this for me would have been try it now and see, because she has a lot to prove. She's on fire, that momentum. Listen, I will say this. The idea of you have to be consistent. Nichelle Prince hasn't had consistent playing time. She does have experience. And I will say, in the playoffs for the NSL, those that have stalwarts and people with leadership and experience, it will come in clutch, because we know that we've seen it before, that those that have that kind of experience in international tournaments and international matches, that's important. But I would have just, sometimes I feel like you're right, Amy, the goalpost shift a little bit. So I'm not
Mimi Alidu, like another player who I think has
fantastic,
been like discounted. You know, there's inherent biases with the way that she was seen because of the league that she was playing and scoring in and really dominating. Finally gets included, and then she makes a misstep in a way in the move, right? Going to the Portland Thorns and just not getting the playing time that she needs to get. But I just want to say,
that's what Casey Stoney said on the call. She said she feels that Mimi is in an unfortunate place. She said that, and she said that she recognizes that, and the option is she's put in the work before with the national team, and not having her would be unfair. So I thought, so there is a cognizance. It's not like Casey Stoney's not realizing the context for all this. I just am still surprised. And it's
the cognitive dissonance, though, of arguing that DB's not doing it in a top 5 league and has to be tested more. And then you're bringing in a player who has done a lot and deserves to get called in Alidu. But then after they got crushed by the US in the summer, the last window. She's like, players have to be playing and competing at the highest of levels. And so you're saying both things in the call, and you've essentially become a walking oxymoron. And the last thing that I want to say about this is I could never see Jesse Marsh be disparaging of the Canadian Premier League. He has done nothing but be supportive of our domestic pro league on the men's side. So I found it very jarring and disappointing to hear Casey Stoney do that, talk about DB in glowing terms, but disparage our domestic pro league for women, which took a long time to get here, and it's finally here. And you have a player who is your golden boot winner, and you cannot take that player. That is fine. But for it to be justified in the way that it was by discrediting the league, I did not like very much.
I don't think
those comments didn't land well.
They didn't land well. And I think, I think probably I think Casey would probably not phrase it that way, but I think she's always been known as a blunt coach, and just the first thing that comes off of her head comes off of her head. And it may not have been the best worded, it definitely wasn't the best worded. It didn't land well in the worst way, but she did make the effort this season to be in all of the team environments, to see the team environments at each of the 6 NSL clubs. As far as I know she was definitely at the majority.
No, she was. And so, it was on social media and public facing. Yeah.
One of the things that was almost surprising was she's clearly invested in women's football in this country. There's no question about that. So it's almost like the remarks were a little bit of a misfire. They're like choosing a play of the week where the shot that's selected is not on frame. See what I did there?
It quite literally missed the mark, is what you're saying, Shireen.
So it was not as well executed as it could have been, is what I'm saying.
Correct. But yeah, I do agree with you guys that her candor, her honesty, the way that she she is off the cuff in the most refreshing way, whether it's a match day -1 call or a post-game remark, I appreciate, and I hope that does not change. But I think those did not come across the way that she intended. Certainly. I will say I'm really looking forward to seeing Quebec's own Floriane Jourde, who is playing for PSG. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, this is her first senior call-up. Yeah, so I'm looking forward to that. But I will also say, again, in defense of DB, which you could call this whole segment, you look at the other forwards that are called into this camp. Other than Vienne, where fitness has been an issue, she is back scoring again. The rest of those forwards who have been called in have not been scoring. So who has been prolific? Who has been consistent? Who has been filling the net? DB. That's all.
DB, defensive DB. Yeah. That's the
DB. Yeah. All right, my friends. Anything else? Oh, there was a joint Women's World Cup bid for 2031. USA, Mexico, Costa Rica, and Jamaica. I don't know what we're doing here, guys.
That whole announcement is literally a Guardian article writing itself in my head. Me doing, what the fuck? Jamaica can't even find water for his players for pre-camp, pre-World Cup. And I had a player who I know fairly well that plays for the Reggae Girls, ask me, because they knew I was coming to Australia, if I could bring the boots that they had received from Adidas, because they came in late. Adidas was like, here, take this. Like, they were not well taken care of. How the fuck are they going to host? And nod to Dr. Claire Rustad, who is under the weather, but said that in a very astute way, that these kind of bids don't benefit the players of that place or the growth. They benefit businesses and the higher ups and echelons who host these events, much to the environmental detriment of those places, and particularly for smaller countries. And I think that was really well spoken and well observed, because it's true. Everyone's excited about the FIFA money coming in, investment. The FIFA money, it doesn't even get funneled, it stops. And it doesn't get to the people where it needs to get to. And we'll talk about this in broadcast moving forward towards the Men's World Cup. What does women's soccer get out of it? Let's have that conversation. And that's
there's that legacy funding. Where is that
legacy funding? Whose legacy? What legacy? How do we define legacy? Who fucking defined it? These are all things you have look forward to in the broadcast in the coming months.
That's right. My friends, thank you for your time as always. Listeners, viewers, thank you as well, because we have exploded the parameters and the constraints we put on this from a week ago. But that's okay.
What we missed for 2 weeks, we had to.
I know we had to make up for it. But thank you for hanging out, and we can maybe piece this up into our NSL segment, and then also a kind of condensed women's national team portion that also had an NSL. We're looking at that through an NSL lens. But thank you for broadening your horizons with us as per usual. And Sigs and Shireen, as always, just a joy to chat football with you. And so we'll be back with you next week. So look out for it as we preview those semifinal two-legged matchups in NSL. And also women's national team, you can catch that match is happening kind of early afternoon Eastern time on Friday against Switzerland. And then Tuesday, a little bit later kickoff against the Netherlands, but 2 good tests for women's national team. So cheers for watching and listening. We love you guys. Thanks for hanging with us. Until next time. Bye. Oh, and best of luck to Rian and the Welsh women's national team.
Yay.